Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to a game between Gumio here in the bottom right in the red colors versus Maru in the blue, playing for Team Onsite Gaming, of course, in a Terran versus Terran game here on Grassvan. We see an SCV being sent out on the map, and this is no late SCV. This is a pretty quick one, even. Now, could just be for a fast scout. Maru just wants to get confirmation of what his opponent is up to. Gumio is known to be a little bit cheesy at times, a bit more aggressive than the other boys in class. But I don't think he's going to get too much information, except for the fact that there's going to be a second depot fully walling out this SCV. Factory goes down here. Ooh. Factory a little bit faster here for Gumio than for Maru. Like 5 seconds or so, 4 seconds. Somewhat significant, actually. Looks like Maru just has a worse opener in that case. But I could be wrong about that, of course. Second Reaper on the way immediately for just one of the two players, as we see a reactor coming out of Maru. And both players also pulling out of gas, at least 2 workers per gas. I think Maru did something similar. No, he pulled out 3 workers. CCs will be going down here. And now let's talk a little bit about the styles of these players. Of course, Maru known to be an interesting one. In the TVT matchup, it often feels like Maru has 2 modes, depending on the early game. He often plays an aggressive early game, and depending on how that went, he'll either turtle or he'll win the game. These are the 2 modes that he really has. And Gumio is a player that likes to be very aggressive in the early game as well, likes to either go for these kind of, I want to say, late early game pushes. Now, what does that mean? It's kind of he likes to stay in the early game a little bit longer than the other boys and go for a big push, trying to deny a third base while getting his own third base up in position often. High marine counts, that type of work is something we often see. And then if he doesn't kill his opponent with that, goes into turtling. So I'm really curious how this early game is going to pan out, because I think that's going to be the kind of the big decider on what will happen. 1 Reaper for a Hellion, perhaps? No, Hellion will get to stay alive as these 2 Reapers try to jump up here, but that's a risky maneuver, as indeed a Hellion was in position there. 2 Reapers will trade out for just a single Reaper, and Gumio loses every single unit here. Overall resources lost 200 to 300, and I think this was favorable for Maru. He's going to be quite happy with that early game. Of course, Cyclone is out already on the side of Gumio. Is also getting a medevac, so definitely preparing for something here. Here comes that Cyclone. Will take out this car, I think. It remains in vision range. Of course it does, and that pretty much evens up the trade. 2 Reapers, 1 Hellion on both sides have gone down at this point. Now, of course, the reactor was slightly quicker for Maru, so I'm expecting a higher marine count. And that is just barely the case, as he is cutting workers to get that really fast 3rd CC right now. We don't see the same thing on the side of Gumio at all. He's already built a 3rd refinery, while Maru is just now starting his 3rd refinery. We have, well, not continuous marine production, but pretty much continuous marine production. At least getting some marines here. Not as much money in the bank for Gumio, so he wants to deal some damage right now and probably a little bit later on in the early game. So like I said, kind of these extended early game pushes. It's the extended edition of the first movie of the Lord of the Rings. That's pretty much how I would describe the style of Gumio, you know? The story isn't over yet, but the first part of the story took longer than what regular people see in the cinema. And yeah, just still no CC. And like I said, he often gets a lot of Marines early on, and it then allows him the safety to build the CC on the 3rd low ground. This is kind of a cool maneuver. I'm a big fan of that. Oh, here we go. Look at this. This is exciting. This scout is somewhat important. Because, ooh, okay, it gets through. Because it's going to see the timing on the 3rd CC. And it will also see the fact that the 3rd CC is being built on location. So Maru really wants to get this scout. This is actually a nice scout. Now, it's not game-changing, but it's good in the sense that Maru now knows what he's up against. He's like, okay, I've seen your 3rd CC timing. I know it's on the low ground. It's significantly later than mine, which means you probably want to push out a little bit right now and deny my 3rd base from landing. Maru still will be capable of building workers with that command center, but he will not be capable of landing it if Gumio does get that control. We also see a 4th gas going down right now, as well as a 2nd factory. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. It is a meching game over here with a bunch of medevacs already out on the map. 3 medevacs, that is a high number of medevacs, straight up transitioning into those Vikings. And I'm loving it over here. I'm a huge fan of mech. So to me, it feels like it's going to be Gumio who will be the initial aggressor and then will be pushed back into a defensive posture with Maru taking map control, taking bases. It is really difficult to kill your opponent when you are playing mech. We have double Liberators on the way, which is an absolutely wild call, a call that we don't often see. What does Gumiho think about his current position? Okay, he's still looking for damage. Has a couple of tanks, a couple of marines in these medevacks. Has cyclones in the front just for control. This is one hell of a setup. This is a nice trick. I haven't seen this particular trick before. So he's going to fly in with 3 tanks, 8 marines and a raven. But I think he's going to do it the moment this push kind of moves out. So he's going to be very careful, very patient. Maru here, flying around with these ravens, not going to get the info. Here comes a scan. That's an important scan. That's a very important scan. I think Maru is actually afraid of a push coming in from the front, but the real danger is in these medevacks. This is a wild build order that I'm kind of falling in love with over here, to be honest. Vikings being built at home, tanks being produced over here as well. So defensively, he's obviously going to be okay. Now, we do have a Liberator moving around. That's not going to be an issue because there's freaking 4 Vikings at home. They are in position to pick up things from the bottom side, so that's nice as well. Raven is going to return back home. I think that Gumio has given up his plan to attack, and he's done a fabulous job here, denying his opponent that third base for a long time. He's already mining for 6 gases. He's been mining from 6 gases for a while. Has superior worker count. Here comes this Lib. Is going to kill, I'm going to say 3 workers. And then the Vikings will jump into action. Oh, wow. Very quick pull. It's still going to be 3 or 4 workers. Yeah, 4 workers. Okay, there we go. Not so bad. It's not so bad at all. We still have the triple medevacs in position, but with a single turret here and without the Raven, which is actually an important part of the push, I don't think you can go in here anymore. I don't think a boost in is really all that viable no more. But Gumiho still keeps his units there, and maybe as a delayed counterattack. The problem is the moment that stim, combat shields, and upgrade finish for your opponent, and there's any amount of tanks there defensively, your marines are just gonna trade like crap. So I like the thought, but this little maneuver hasn't paid off, and mainly due to the, how careful Maru was playing this game. Okay, here we go. No, sees the turret and pisses off. This might actually prompt a response out of these marines. Do have a bunch of Vikings moving forward as well. Probably trying to snipe a single medevac and then go away. Maru needs to be very careful there with the medevac movement as a result. So we get that big scan on the marines. Gumio is now aware of what's going on. So far, Gumio has been capable of keeping more map control than is usual with mech. Absolutely the case here. 4cc faster for Gumio than it is for Maru. Armory is now on the way after the first 3 factories. And what is the response out of Maru? He's going up to 5 barracks and then adds 2 more starports as well as another factory. So it's gonna go heavy into the tanks. Look at this. And, ooh, I love this little move. It's going to just immediately send the starports over to the reactors and build 2 new tech labs on these barracks to continue Marauder production, or to start Marauder production, because let's face it, there's not that many Marauders out quite yet. A little bit of a stim forward. Big supply here coming out of Gumio. Is getting vehicle weapons as well as the vehicle plating, so the armor. No ship weapons being built yet. I think a single scan here for Gumiho could actually help him a lot. If he were to figure out that starports are being set up for Viking production, it wouldn't surprise me if he tries to go for ship weapons a little bit faster. Now, maybe add in a Thor as well, of course, is a possibility. It does seem like Maru is getting more comfortable being out on the map with kind of significant part of his army right now. Basically all of the Marines. Liberators trying to move forward. Not quite sure why they are trying to move forward, but they are, and that's a fact. 6 Vikings being built at the same time here for Maru. As these Hellions are going to get caught. Question is, will they be capable of dealing some damage here? Kill 3 Marines, that is something at least. Take out an SCV there. And I think now they're pretty much backed into a corner. The problem with mech is that this type of move never really has a follow-up, right? If this were bio and you harassed with 6 Hellions, you pull an entire army out of position, maybe you can attack this base at the same time. But mech doesn't really have that ability to multitask around the map with realistic forces. The only time it can happen is if you're planning on truly moving out with a maxed push. So you send in some Hellions for harass, and then you follow it up with that type of big attack, you know, with just the entire mech army. But you can't have 2 medevacs of Marines here and then 4 Hellions in here. That doesn't work if you're playing mech. You just don't have the upgrades for Marines. And also then you'd be playing like bio-mech. CC, by the way, here on the 4th base, interesting. Believes that his planetary is not necessary to defend against harassment. Kind of true as well, because Hellions can move behind the mineral line anyway, so what help does that planetary really provide? 10 workers will end up going down as a 5th base flies over here for Gumiho, who did build a planetary on this base, despite having an insane number of tanks. Has he scanned yet? He has not quite. He's not aware of the Viking count of his opponent, which at this point is actually higher than his own Viking count. Is adding 2 more starports, 3 more command centers. We have upgrades coming out of the eBay as well. High-sec auto tracking. Building armor should be next, as we have ship weapons coming in. Have we seen that scan yet? We have not seen the scan yet. I think that maybe there is a chance that Gumiho knows what's kicking off, but I think he's a little bit underprepared here, because this was a really fast switch into triple starport coming out of MARU, who already has 2-2 done as well. I don't think he's going to continue bio upgrades at this point. I think he's done with that. So, you know, it's a ship that has sailed. And he wants to really focus on getting that air army out. Probably wants to get an even higher starport count at some point, going up to maybe 5. The moment you go up to like 10 gases, that is actually a possibility. It is something you can do. At the same time, he doesn't want to completely give up his ground force. It seems like we're going kind of into a... oh, what is this? A late game at this point already? Is this a late game? I think it is. Rapid reignition system, the medevac cooldown for the boost. Or sorry, the increase, yeah, reduces the cooldown. There we go. That was correct. And also increases the movement speed of medevacs. That I didn't know. I didn't know there was a straight up boost to movement speed of the medevac. Let's take a look at that once it finishes up. Oh, it's slightly faster. Oh, did the animation also change? I wasn't even aware of that. Yeah, of course it does. I mean, most upgrades that have an impact do change the animation. I don't think that's true for the War Prism, though, the speed upgrade, does it? Does it change the animation of the prism? I don't think it does. Poor Terrans. Oh, these Marines are... They're gonna do nothing. They're gonna die here. So useless. Marines without upgrades, without stim, without combat shield. This is a dead medevac as well. Oh, but this was an actual distraction. Look at that. As Gumiho moves into position here, he's been waiting for this. Did not use the Hellions for it. Instead said, no, I'm just going to go in with my 8 Marine drop, and it actually took a little bit of the attention away of his opponent. We now have a kill here on the planetary, perhaps a kill on this command center as well. This is a lot of Vikings though on the other side, 22 against 21. There's 2 Ravens for Gumiho against 3 Ravens of his opponent. And I actually think that Gumiho has less air units. I think Thor, just a single Thor would be so helpful right now. Get a single volley off, boom. You're ahead, just like that. Ship weapons level 3 already on the way for MARU, is also getting his vehicle plating, and these upgrades are actually pretty close right now, despite Gumiho being the meching player. It feels like MARU was a bit more ready for this air transition. 6th base is up and running for pretty much both players at this point, as we have an almost... Ooh. What? Oh. So we're going into an even higher starport count here. 7 for Gumiho. And I think these are going to be tech labbed. We already have 2 tech labs on these starports. But there's 2 more being built here. Huh. So Battlecruiser, is that the follow-up? This is a really rare follow-up that you never see. Simply because the Raven is so much superior to the BC, right? Way less supply and it can just disable it. So often we see Ravens just beating them, but maybe as a surprise or as a late-game harassment unit, this is what we're going for. There's only a single tank here, actually, with this army for MARU. Oh, there's one a little bit further back as well, but I think this position can be easily broken. Where's the bio? It's all in those medevacs. Here we go. Message around coming out of Gumiho as I choke on oxygen. I do believe that this fight should have been won by Gumiho a little bit easier. It's gonna take out this tank. It did hit a massive anti-armor missile, and it has more Vikings. He can just fight this. I think MARU is not quite understanding the numbers here. Did not count correctly, and is going to lose a lot of Vikings as a result. 19 Vikings to 10. Needs to pull back right now, as the numbers are dwindling. What is the reinforcements? Liberator, Viking. Liberator is a little bit... 6 Liberators? Huh. That is interesting. Indeed, we do have 2 more tech labs coming in for Gumio, who's also having a little mew party. Let's take a look at the income here. I wish I knew how to get the proper income graph off. There are hotkeys in this mod that I'm not aware of. Despite casting a game a day for the past 2.5 years. I never really figured those out. Look at that. 4,400 minerals right now. How many mules do we have? 11 mules. Orbital count is 9 against 6. That is a significant advantage here when it comes to vision as well as the mineral boosting, of course. And technically, Gumiho could have a bigger army by removing more SCVs from his supply pool, right? He could just kill them or send them into their death by, you know, getting into those tank lines. I'm somewhat surprised we don't have any Liberators in the army here. It is actually MARU who starts with the first battlecruiser, but with MARU I feel like it's more of a misclick. I'm not sure if this was really the goal here. Feels like Gumiho is just keeping the option open. There's not a single tank here in a position that can hold these turrets or to keep these turrets alive. I mean, one tank is not going to cut it either. Vikings don't want to land against this, obviously. Another tank in the back. Vikings are going to land. Another tank sieges up, and I mean, the Viking numbers don't go down by that much. These two, they had enough of life. They gave up, went back. Losing 9 workers, not all that bad here for Gumio, who's just going to get a bigger army now as a result. If anything, MARU might be biting himself in the bum here a little bit, which is a difficult task to do in real life, but yeah, it's painful. This is another bad fight here. I'm not sure how does MARU look at these fights and go, this looks good for me. Like, it's 35 Vikings against 18 Vikings and 7 Liberators. And it's like, the numbers just don't check out. You can keep trying to, you know, headbutt into this type of position, but it's just not going to work if you have inferior Viking numbers and you have nothing to make up for it. It's not like he has a lot of ravens. Actually, it's Gumiho that also has more ravens, so auto turrets, interference matrix, as well as, of course, just the anti-armor missiles are going to be way more plentiful on the side of Gumiho, as he has a higher, simply has a higher count. Now lips are coming out on the side of Gumi. Advanced ballistics is done. The only problem I have with Gumiho is that I'm having a difficult time seeing him win. Now, he's staying alive and he's in the game, but is he really winning? It feels like he's Ooh, hold that thought. These bad boys are coming in, and auto turret is actually quite nice against this type of harass as well, by the way. Often useful. Oh, there we go, with another land. 1-2 Vikings will die. It kind of feels like it's a crocodile against a turtle fight, you know? Like, the turtle might survive for a while, but there's no way for the turtle to ever truly fight back. At least that's not what it feels like. Maybe you can break a tooth of the croc, the alligator. But I mean, where in this game is Gumiho going to march across the map and win the game? I don't quite see it. Feels like he has been kind of winning fights, but when I look at the resources lost, that's not even the case. And he's being, I think he's gonna be outmined, no? He isn't mining from this bottom base yet. MARU is already mining. Like, MARU already has all of his own bases set up. He's mining from all the bases he needs to mine from. He has more workers, so he's going to be mining out those bases quicker as well, which is a good thing. And his bottom side base, I don't think is ever going to be taken for Gumio. He already is struggling with this base to hold it. Oh, battlecruiser's actually coming out right now, 3 at a time. I missed that. 4 at a time, perhaps. Here comes a blink in. With Yamato, it is just too slow still. What was that? That's no good. That's a mistake. Good attempt, brother. Maybe next year. Yamato is coming down for MARU as well. And these... Actually, if you have the Raven lead, getting BCs probably makes some sense, doesn't it? It probably does. There's a lot of Liberators in this army. Like, a lot of Liberators. Here comes Gumiho. He's gonna fight, though. Oh, here comes a move in. Here comes a move forward. Not a single Thor has been built. Liberators moving in. Coming in with a splash damage. As Ravens not even throwing down an anti-armor missile on these Vikings. What a huge error here out of Gumiho. There's still 4 Ravens available, so anti-armor should be close by still. And there we go. Here comes one of these bad boys. But I feel like they should have been way better. All battle cruisers have gone down. Why was there no Raven action at all? He had a massive Raven lead, and all he did was throw down 3 auto turrets, which honestly aren't that impactful if there's 4 tanks firing as well. I think what you're supposed to be doing is either interference matrixing the tanks and then throwing down these turrets, or not throwing down the turrets at all and just playing it kind of slow and safe. 10 Vikings at a time coming out here of Gumiho. I'm wondering what the role of the BC is in the late game, because I haven't really seen it be super useful. So resources lost still favorable here for Maru, and Gumiho indeed, slowly but surely, you know, his shell is breaking. Yeah, it really feels like there's not a whole lot. Oh, Gumiho's gonna take this base. That's actually kind of a big deal. There's no vision on that base. Okay, now there is, because he just scanned it. This is an interesting base to take, because you don't have enough to hold the top side base as well as the bottom base against these small bioforces. These small bioforces in the late game are so vital for Maru here, because they just force an entire Viking army to move in and to deal with it. It's frustrating. You don't really want to land it against Marauders either, or against Marines. Look what he's trying to take out these medevacs that aren't here anymore. He's gonna need to land it right now, and we'll need to fight, but he just runs away. You're losing some time in the middle. Now comes the Viking force to actually deal with you, and Gumiho might actually be caught off guard a little bit here, and maybe even in a bit of trouble. He's gonna stay on the low ground. This CC is going to fall, and this is what I was saying. This bottom base is not so easy to hold at all. We do have 4 Ravens out for Gumiho and a massive amount of Vikings. Where are his units though? Looks like Gumiho is kind of unaware of where his opponent's army is, because his entire army is out of position. Here comes Maru moving forward right now, as these Vikings are taking a little bit of a beating. However, with a good concave, I think anything is possible actually. We see the teleport out here. At the same time, we had a couple of tanks on the top side working on that planetary. This is a real nice fight here coming out of Gumiho. At least it feels like a real nice fight coming out of Gumiho. Anti-armor missile still active. I wish there was something to deal with those turrets though, and there really isn't at the moment. Quite sure why we have these Liberators sieging up, but I love it. 48 Vikings against 23. But these battle cruisers are going ham. Is there something we can do about that? I think the answer is no, not really. Guess a bunch of Vikings will move towards that top side, as this this is the slowest attack here. This is a very slow assault, an insanely slow assault. So the Vikings move to safety, will land here. We'll need to lift again as well, as the battle cruisers decide to come back in. Ravens show up, another BC comes in as well, and I think Gumiho is going to be broken here on the top side. There's nothing he can do about it, as every single Viking there goes down. Does he have more Vikings coming in? No, not really. Liberators now moving forward, as the single tank is still going ham. This is just a weird game. Planetary... Wait, this wasn't a planetary, just a command center. Has been re-landed, or has been set up again. So we can start mining. Here comes another big fight. Are all the Vikings here? It's 37 Vikings against 28, but there's also 8 battle cruisers available. Auto turrets were firing there. I think that Gumiho is actually losing this fight. Yeah, GG gets called. Gumiho loses the game here. It's an odd game this was. Eventually he does snap. I wonder what really did it. I think just the more money for Maru here. Felt like there was so many Vikings though. And I'm still not entirely sure why Thors weren't built at all on the side of Gumiho. Just feels like a single Thor helps so much against high Viking counts. And it forces them to continuously split, making micro harder as well. Like you can keep them in a flowered end defensively while your opponent can't. The tank count wasn't so large for Maru. Like Thors really force out higher tank numbers. And I think that was one of the reasons why Maru could have such a large air army. I mean, he had 28 Vikings, 8 battle cruisers, because he hardly had any tanks. And Thors do force out those tanks. So it feels like it helps a lot in the air battle. It forces your opponent into the ground as well. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what went wrong. TVT is a tricky matchup. It was a fun little game here. I hope you all enjoyed it as well. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye-bye.